Well, hello everyone. This is Dr. Shelley Plumb. I'd like to welcome you back to this segment of From the Hip. Today we are going to switch gears and we are going to talk about a subject that I know has affected a lot of my friends and my family and myself, and that is divorce. And I know a lot of you either have gone through it or know somebody that have gone through divorce. We have the author of a book. It's called Just in Case, Lose Your Heart, Not Your Mind. We have Aliette Carolan with us. And she is author of this incredible book and is an attorney that deals with divorce on a regular basis. And in a moment, we will be back and we are going to talk about divorce and what we need to do to be prepared going forward. Well, hello everyone. We are back and we are here with Aliette. How are you?
Hi, I'm fine, thank you. How are you?
I am doing good. Now, you are an attorney.
I am.
And you really, your line of specialty is divorce.
I focus exclusively in the area of family law, yes.
That's great, that's great. Now, you have this wonderful book, Just in Case, Lose Your Heart, Not Your Mind. What motivated you to write your book?
I was inspired by the many, many women who came into my office completely lost, scared, with no idea about their own family's finances.
Is that right?
Yes.
So that was a big part of your practice? Was there many women that came in like that?
Yes,
really?
many. And to me, it's jarring, and I can't imagine that feeling of not knowing how you're going to move on with your life, or how you're going to feed your children, or how you're going to rent a place, like being completely dependent on somebody and not having any power over your own finances.
That's scary. I mean, it's scary definitely to think about that. So you've seen so many women, and maybe some men that have gone through that, but so many women. Can you walk through what happens with that? You go to an attorney, you don't know anything about your finances, and for the most part, maybe your ex-husband has cut you off. Then what happens?
So it's tough. So when they come to us in that situation, they have to find money from somewhere to pay an initial retainer. We all work on initial retainers.
Yes.
And then we embark on the expensive and tedious journey of discovery. So sometimes when they'll say, I'll say, where does your husband bank? And they'll say, I don't know, but my check card is from Bank of America, as an example.
Right.
So then we have to send subpoenas. But most people bank at more than one bank.
Yes.
But a lot of the time, the breadwinning spouse doesn't send their mail home.
Okay.
They send their mail either to their place of business, or they have P.O. boxes where the other spouse has no idea. And I'm not being gender biased. It really does happen on both ends of the spectrum.
Right.
My book is geared toward women because I'm a woman, and
Right.
I'm inspired to empower women as much as possible. But then we have to send subpoenas out, and we have to go basically on a hunt for the information.
I can only imagine. So that brings up a question. How easy is it for you to get that information from the other side?
Well, it varies depending on who's the lawyer on the other side, depending on the spouse that we're dealing with, the party that we're dealing with.
Yes.
I mean, subpoenas are subpoenas. We can invoke the power of the court to compel a bank to provide us with the information. But sometimes there's offshore banking. Sometimes there's money under a mattress that we're never going to find.
Right.
The point is not the dollar amount.
Yes.
The point is the powerlessness that comes from being completely unaware of your family's finances. And that's what I'm trying to help women avoid.
Right.
And whether you work or you don't work, you should be an equal partner in your marriage. And not working shouldn't prohibit you from having access to and power over your family's finances.
Right. No, that's definitely very, very true. So say you are embarking on, that you have a divorce that's going through, and there is a settlement by a judge, for example. Say your client was awarded a settlement, and the other side refuses to pay. What happens then?
More litigation.
Is that right?
And
who pays for that litigation?
It depends. The
Yes.
standard in Florida is need and ability to pay, but you still have to have the money to start the process.
Right.
And there are now ways where we can get money directly from a person's payroll, but that only really works when the party is employed by someone, a neutral third party. A lot of the times we see the worst of it is when people are self-employed, when the breadwinning spouse is self-employed.
Right.
Because we can get an income withholding order, but if they're the person in charge,
Right.
they're not gonna, they can flaunt the order, and then we have to go file a motion to enforce it or for contempt. So it's not that it's not possible, but it's just an arduous process.
Yes, I can imagine so. I know someone, just in investigating and talking to people, whose ex-husband flew the state, and they really couldn't find him for the most part. Have you dealt with anything like that?
Sure, of
You
course.
have. And how do you, from a legal standpoint, handle that?
Well, it depends on what assets we can grab that are here.
Okay, gotcha.
So you can move the court for injunctions to prohibit money transfers and direct banks to freeze accounts, but the wheels of justice
Right.
grind slowly. So
They do.
by the time you make all of those movements, there is the possibility that money's going to be moved. I mean, I don't want to give the impression that this is how it happens all the time.
Yes, yes.
But the possibility is out there.
Yes, it is, and hence protecting yourself is incredibly important. Now, in effect, there has to be effects that trickle down from all of this, and one, first and foremost, is the effect on, let's just say, a woman going through divorce. Emotionally, have you seen your clients really affected by this?
Sure,
Yes,
of course.
yes.
And again, to go back to like what I believe is the root of the issue,
Yes.
it's that lack of awareness. The first part of my book is about self-awareness.
Okay.
Saying, even though I'm a divorce lawyer, I don't want people to get divorced.
Right.
And I think the best way to avoid a divorce is to have made the right choice in the partner in the first place. And how do you make the right choice in the partner if you don't know who you are?
True.
So the first part of my book is dedicated to the idea that you have to sit with yourself and analyze yourself and meditate and really come to know who you are so that you can know what it is that you need from another person, because two halves don't make a whole.
Right. Yes.
So that's the first part of the book. And then the second part goes into, whether we like it or not, money is power.
Yes.
And so whether you work or not work, I make no judgment on that, but my objective is to say you have to prepare for the worst and hope for the best. And the best way to do that is to be actively involved. And even if someone says, don't worry about it, I got it, that's great. And listen, there was times where I wish that somebody
Right.
would say to me,
Yes.
don't worry about it, I got it.
Right.
But you cannot abdicate your role as an adult in a marriage. And that means you have to take responsibility for the finances in your house. You have to know what kind of money is coming in, what kind of money is going out. Even if it's a once a year annual review when it's time to do your taxes.
Right.
That's a perfect moment where it's not like, because I think that there's a little fear in the spouse who's not generating income to be like, well, I want to see what's happening, because they think that there might be a level of distrust, but it's too bad. You have to know.
You
what's
do,
happening.
and I'm hearing you loud and clear. What you're saying is that a marriage is a partnership.
Right.
A marriage is a partnership where you're on equal ground, you're on equal footing.
Ideally.
And really, as equal partners in this relationship, each should know what's going on. Heaven forbid something happens to the other, or a divorce happens.
Right. Well, that's a great point, because it doesn't have to be divorce. What if your spouse passes away unexpectedly, or what if your spouse becomes disabled unexpectedly, and you need to have the wherewithal to keep everything going for yourself, for your children, if you have any.
Right.
And I think that it empowers you when you are actively and with intention going through your life and or your marriage.
Right, right. And I can hear from you a couple of very key words. I heard mindful and with intention. And I just think those are things that get lost in this type of subject.
Sure.
And this is something you focus on in your book. So let's talk about the book just for a second. Just in case, I love the title, I have to tell you.
Thank you.
Lose Your Heart, Not Your Mind. And I must know, because I have a book coming out next
year.
Oh,
do you? Congrats.
And how did you come up with the title? What does that, especially the last part, Lose Your Heart, Not Your Mind. What do you mean by that?
What I meant is that I still believe in love. I think that it's wonderful if you want to be married and you want to, put your life together with somebody else's.
Yes.
But you still need to keep your mind in check, So give away your heart by all means,
yes.
but don't lose your. I'm sorry, I said that wrong. You give away your heart,
yes.
but not your mind.
Right,
you have
right.
to still, again, have the wherewithal to be an active participant in your marriage.
Okay, so let's start that part over,
Oh,
because
okay,
I think
yes.
that's a key.
Yes,
and
I'm
we're
sorry.
editing. We're not live, so we're good to go. Okay, so
yeah, because I know I said it wrong there.
no, it's okay, because I know that there is a lot in that title for because
and then there's the subtitle,
The
where
Smart Woman's Guide to Marriage and Self-Sufficiency. I love that title. Okay,
Thank you.
All right. So I must know, let's talk about your book. Just in case, Lose Your Heart, Not Your Mind. And then the subtitle, for those of you out there, I know you probably can't see it, The Smart Woman's Guide to Marriage and Self-Sufficiency. There's a lot in that title. It says a lot. Lose your heart and not your mind. So what do you mean by that? Do you mean that we need to keep our mind present and really, focus? Because sometimes, especially I've been through divorce, and it gets crazy.
Sure.
You're thinking about all these things and forgetting about a lot of things. So what did you mean in that part of the title?
So I think that both in marriage and in a divorce,
right.
There are situations that are so emotionally charged.
It's true.
And my goal is always to infuse logic and reason into these situations. And so I say, yes, fall in love, be happy.
Yes.
I wish you the happiest life ever. But that doesn't mean that you can check out mentally.
That's good. That's a great point to make. We can't check out. You can't afford to check out. And I see it three ways. From looking at it, it really has an effect on you personally, like you touched on. You really have to be present within you. And then that trickles down to effect on your family. You have 2 children. I have children. It has an effect on the children, doesn't
Sure.
it? And I often wonder, and have seen statistics on this, on the effect it has on the state. If women and men, there is a small percentage of men that go through this and are not, cognizant and are cut off. How many of them end up on food stamps, for example? It can happen. It can happen, can't it?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yes, I would imagine.
So the title, the last part is self-sufficiency, and that sounds like to me something that you emphasize.
I do, and I believe in it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that there can be a negative connotation to self-sufficiency, like, self-sufficient, I don't need anybody. I don't mean it like that.
Yes.
I mean it in the sense that you can stand on your own 2 feet at a moment's notice. That you're in a relationship because you want to be in that relationship, because you love the partner, you respect your partner, you admire your partner, you're happy with your partner, not because you need your partner.
Yes.
And I think that strong relationships are based on 2 people that are self-sufficient.
That's true.
And so, I do. It's a big part of who I am and what the message I'm trying to send out.
I commend you, and it's funny with my writing. I'll share with you just something that is funny. Is I write a lot of times in metaphors. And while you're talking, you know what I'm picturing? I'm picturing a tree. And a tree that has roots that are out like this, and then a hurricane comes through, and you are those roots for people. You're helping them to sustain the winds, because the winds and the terrible things that happen with divorce, I mean, they're going to happen, but if you draw from within, you're self-sufficient, like you're saying, you can withstand that.
Right.
It's incredible. It's very
Yeah.
good.
I went through my own divorce, and when I made my decision, finances didn't play a part in it.
Okay.
And that was very empowering.
Right.
And, my children's lives didn't change. There was less effect on all of us because we were on equal footing.
Sure, yes.
And, that's not going to be everybody's situation, and I get that. I've always been driven. I always knew what I wanted to do with my, when I grew up.
Yes.
And I understand that not everybody's going to be like that, but it's not a tangible thing. It's an internal process.
It is.
That we have to be sure that we're cognizant of.
This is such a refreshing viewpoint on this. It really is.
Thank you.
It really is. So we're going to take this opportunity to take a break.
Okay.
We will be back after a word from our sponsor. Microgerm Defense is a green antimicrobial product. It is approved by the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency and comparable regulatory bodies around the world. It wipes out 99.99% of harmful germs and viruses with its non-stop active protection. The process for application is easy, fast, and safe. For more information, email info@microgermdefense.com or call 1-855-282-3338. Well, we are back, and I have to thank you so much for joining us. This has been, you're just a wealth of knowledge.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, you're welcome. And there are so many people, I'm sure, that are out there that are struggling with regards to divorce. Either they're embarking on the process or thinking about it or have gone through it and just have questions. Is there any words of advice that you would give them?
Well, I would start with saying that I'm a believer of counseling, and so that might be a great place to start, is a neutral party where you can air your grievances and talk it out. Exactly. Once you've made the decision that you want to get divorced for sure, then I would say prepare, and by which I mean take stock of what you have from a financial perspective, your assets, your liabilities, your bank accounts, your retirement accounts, all of that.
Right.
Get a good handle on what your household expenses are.
Yes.
So that you can sort of estimate what kind of income you're going to need, whether it's by your own earnings or via alimony. And then the third step would be to find competent counsel.
Yes.
And interview more than one if you want, or get a good referral from somebody who thinks like you. Because I always believe that we as lawyers attract people that are like us, and so people look for lawyers that are like them. So if you're the type of person who doesn't really want to make a mountain out of every molehill, then you may not want to go to a lawyer referred to you by a friend who loves the drama. You know what I mean?
I see.
So
Yes,
think
yes.
about that.
Right.
And then lastly, once you've gone down the road, I would say, look for the wisdom in your experiences and look forward, not back. And, it doesn't have to be a terrible, horrible experience. It's going to be tough for sure.
Yes.
But there's a lot of growing that comes when we're challenged. And I think if we look forward and be positive, I think good things can come of it too.
I love that. Look forward, not back. Who was it that had the quote? I think it was Abraham Lincoln. Look forward because you're not going backwards. You don't look backwards because you're not going that way, or something to that. That's really great words of advice. I think I saw that in your book.
It is, yes. There's a whole chapter, chapter 16, that's dedicated to the what happens next. I think it's called Sufficiently Ever After.
That's great. great. That's great. So for viewers
Thank
that
you.
are out there that may want to contact you, they have questions or they want to know more about your book or even purchase your book, where would you point them?
So the book is available on Amazon.com and on Barnes & Nobles. It's under Just in Case, Lose Your Heart, Not Your Mind. And you can find me at my website, which is just my name. So it's AlietteCarolan.com.
Perfect. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you again. It was great.
My goodness, what a show. I, for one, have certainly learned a lot. So for all of you out there that either know someone or are going through divorce, I encourage you all to use your heart and think with your mind, and don't let your mind run away with you. So until next time, this is Dr. Shelley Plumb. This has been another segment of From the Hip. We will see you soon.